Hey everyone, we are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Nah. NAA. We are not doing this today. We are absolutely not doing this. That right there, that image, that footage, that moment should make every single Cincinnati Bengals fan's stomach drop straight through the floor. That is Trey Hendrickson in purple. And if you are a Bengals fan watching this video right now and that doesn't make your blood boil just a little bit, I genuinely need you to check your pulse. I'm Dre. Welcome to Dre Talk Sports, the channel that never sugarcoats, never backs down, and never, ever pretends that the uncomfortable stuff isn't worth talking about. And today we are going all the way in on the Cincinnati Bengals, their 2026 season outlook, the schedule drama that is about to unfold, and why this particular year, more than any year in recent memory, might actually be the one where everything finally clicks, or completely falls apart. No in between. Let's get into it. First things first, the NFL schedule release is dropping imminently. According to coverage from Bengals Daily, part of the Fan Arch podcast network, the full 2026 NFL schedule is set to release on Thursday, May 14th. And already the rumor mill is spinning at full capacity. Mock schedules are flying around social media like confetti. Unnamed Twitter accounts are playing amateur NFL scheduler. And Bengals fans, bless their loyal and perpetually tortured hearts, are already circling games on calendars that haven't even been printed yet. That is the energy of a fan base that genuinely believes this is their year. And honestly, after everything this franchise has been through in the last 4 years, they've earned that belief. But let's talk about what we actually know versus what we're speculating about, because Dre does not deal in pure fantasy. According to reporting from Bengals Daily, several matchups are already confirmed on the 2026 calendar. The Cowboys are hosting the Giants in Week 1 on Sunday Night Football, and that game carries its own massive storyline with John Harbaugh making his debut as New York's head coach. The Ravens are locked in to play in Rio de Janeiro in Week 3 against the Cowboys, which means Baltimore's international slot is officially checked off, and that has some interesting ripple effects for Cincinnati that we'll get to in a minute. The 49ers and Rams are playing in Melbourne, Australia on Thursday, September 10th, and the Bills and Lions are squaring off in Week 2 on Thursday Night Football. The league is going full global in 2026, and the schedule is shaping up to be absolutely stacked. Now let's get to the Bengals specifically, because that's why you're here, and that's what Dre is fired up about. According to reporting from Bengals Daily, there are two specific rumors circulating about Cincinnati's early schedule. Rumor number 1, Bengals in Houston Week 1. Burrow versus Stroud, Jamar Chase versus what might be the best secondary in football. And Dre's immediate reaction to that rumor is the same reaction the podcast host had, a deep, uncomfortable exhale. Look, the Texans have shown they can sputter offensively. We all saw that defensive struggle against New England. But opening on the road against potentially the best defense in football, as a team with a documented and historically painful September problem, that is not a scheduling gift. That is a scheduling challenge, with a capital C. Rumor number 2 is the one that made Dre actually lean forward. Ravens in Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, potentially to open the season. Week 1, prime time. Paycor Stadium, Bengals versus Ravens, with all the bad blood, all the offseason drama, all the Trey Hendrickson baggage sitting right there on the field in front of 60-some thousand people who are going to be simultaneously electric and absolutely furious. According to Bengals Daily's coverage, the NFL's own scheduling insider Mike North has already told Bengals fans to expect prime-time games and possibly an overseas game in 2026. The prime-time energy is real. The question is just which opponent and which week. Dre's personal take? Give me Ravens Week 1 at home on Monday Night Football. I know some people want the away AFC North games early to test the new coaching staffs. I understand that logic. But from a pure entertainment and emotional standpoint, there is nothing on the entire 2026 NFL calendar that will hit harder than Trey Hendrickson walking into Paycor Stadium in a Ravens jersey in prime time to open the season. That moment will be one of the most electric atmospheres in Bengals history regardless of the result. And frankly, the Bengals need that kind of emotional rocket fuel to shake off the September demons that have haunted this franchise for years. Because let's be brutally honest about this September problem. Because it is real, and it is documented, and it deserves more attention than it gets in the mainstream conversation about this team. According to Bengals Daily's detailed breakdown, the numbers under Zach Taylor in Weeks 1 and 2 of the season are genuinely ugly. In 2022, they started 0-2, lost to Pittsburgh, lost to Dallas, before eventually rallying to reach the AFC Championship. In 2023, they lost Week 1 to Cleveland, before Burrow hurt his wrist in Week 11, and the season effectively ended. In 2024, they started 0-3 and missed the playoffs by exactly one game, meaning those early losses were the direct mathematical reason they were watching January football from their couch. And in 2025, they started 2-0, but according to the podcast's honest assessment, that 2-0 did not look good. A missed field goal against the Browns away from being 0-1. Officiating decisions that went their way. The wins were there, but the dominant early form was not. That is, by any reasonable measure, one of the worst September track records of any legitimate Super Bowl contender in the modern NFL. And Dre is going to say what the polite analysts won't say directly. At some point, you have to stop blaming injuries and holdouts and bad luck, and start asking whether there is a genuine systemic issue with how this coaching staff prepares this team for the beginning of the regular season. That is a fair question. It is not an indictment. It is a fair football question. But, and here is where the 2026 narrative genuinely shifts, this year might actually be different. And I don't say that as blind optimism. I say that because the specific excuses that have existed in previous years simply do not exist right now. According to reporting from Bengals Daily, quoting offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher, the Bengals this year have a, quote, chance to do that more so than we have in other years, referring to uninterrupted offseason work with the full offensive roster healthy and present. Every significant offensive player is expected at OTAs and training camp. Joe Burrow is healthy, no holdouts. T. Higgins is re-signed, the offensive line returns the same 5 starters with depth behind them, no contract drama, no injury clouds, no bad vibes circulating through the building. Now let's talk about something that genuinely does not get enough attention in the Bengals conversation, and it is the ripple effect that the defensive overhaul has on the offense. People talk about Dexter Lawrence, Cassius Howe, Myles Murphy, and the new-look defensive front as a defensive upgrade. And obviously it is. But according to Bengals Daily's analysis, the defensive improvement is a direct benefit to the offense without changing a single offensive player. Think about what that actually means in practice. When opposing defensive coordinators know that the moment they get the ball back, their offense is going to be under siege from one of the most dangerous front fours in football. They cannot afford to be as aggressive against Burrow and Chase and Higgins. They cannot load the box with 8 defenders and dare the Bengals to throw over the top, because they need to protect their own scoring drives. They cannot play purely aggressive man coverage schemes with no safety help because the field position battle shifts the entire game. Dre has watched enough football to tell you, a legitimately good defense makes a great offense look elite. It is not just about winning games. It is about how you win games. It is about running the football in the fourth quarter. It is about not forcing Burrow into 35-throw games when the team is chasing a deficit. It is about Chase Brown getting his opportunities in the run game with the game on the line instead of being a check-down option on 3rd and 8 from your own 20 when you're down 14. According to Bengals Daily, this point was made explicitly. A better defense allows the offense to play more well-rounded football. And well-rounded football is exactly what the Bengals have been missing in those brutal early season stretches. Now let's get to the games that are going to define the 2026 Bengals season, regardless of where they fall on the schedule. Because this is where the real drama lives and where Dre has some strong opinions. According to Bengals Daily's breakdown, and Dre is in full agreement here, the Ravens games are the ones that matter most. Both of them. Home and away. But if you're forcing Dre to pick the single most defining game of the entire 2026 Cincinnati Bengals season, it is Ravens at Paycor. It is not close. After everything that happened this offseason, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, we opened this video with it. Watching Trey Hendrickson come back to Cincinnati in a Ravens jersey is going to be one of the most emotionally charged moments this fan base has experienced in years. And how the Bengals respond to that moment, not just emotionally but on the scoreboard, will tell you everything you need to know about who this team is in 2026. The Ravens game in Baltimore is the second most important. The Bengals actually beat Baltimore in Baltimore on Thanksgiving last season, and that was a genuine statement win. According to Bengals Daily's reporting, the expectation is that if there is a primetime Ravens-Bengals matchup this year, it will be in Cincinnati, meaning the Baltimore road game probably gets a normal time slot. But do not underestimate that game. If this division comes down to a 1-game difference, and according to Bengals Daily's analysis, it almost certainly will be a 2-horse race between these franchises, then every single head-to-head moment matters enormously. The third game circling on Dre's calendar is the Chiefs matchup. According to reporting from Bengals Daily, Cassius Howe has publicly talked about wanting to get back at Kansas City after they passed on him in the draft, and selected a different edge rusher. That is personal. That is the kind of motivation that turns good players into great ones for one specific 3-hour window. The Bengals and Mahomes have history. The last couple of meetings have not gone Cincinnati's way, and a rivalry that defined the AFC for several years has been dormant for too long. When these two teams meet in 2026, it is going to feel like something. And finally, and this point does not get nearly enough attention, the NFC South games: Panthers, Saints, Buccaneers, Falcons. According to Bengals Daily's honest and direct assessment, these 4 games are going to define what type of football team the 2026 Cincinnati Bengals actually are. Not the Ravens games, not the Chiefs game. Those games test your ceiling. The NFC South games test your floor. These are the games that every legitimate Super Bowl contender is supposed to win. Baltimore wins 3 out of 4 of those. Pittsburgh probably wins 3 out of 4. The Bengals need to do the same or better if they want to be taken seriously as a division winner and a real AFC threat. Dre's take on this is direct. If the Bengals go 2-2 or worse against the NFC South, the conversation about this team's Super Bowl ceiling ends immediately. You cannot drop games to the Panthers or the Saints or the Falcons and call yourself a championship-caliber team. It does not matter how close your losses to Baltimore are or how competitive you look against Kansas City. The scoreboard does not grade on a curve. The NFC South slate is the foundation. Build it right and everything else becomes possible. Fumble it, and the whole structure collapses before Halloween. Here is where Dre lands on the 2026 Cincinnati Bengals as we head into schedule release week. The roster is the most complete it has been in the Burrow era. The offensive continuity is real. The defensive upgrades are legitimate. The injury excuses are gone. The contract drama is resolved. The motivation, fueled in no small part by a certain defensive end now wearing purple, is absolutely through the roof. This team has every ingredient it needs to not just survive September for the first time in years, but to dominate it. The schedule gods will determine the specific order. But the Bengals' job is the same regardless of who they face first. Come out of the gate playing Bengals football, protect Burrow, unleash Chase, make opposing offenses miserable with that new defensive front, and remind the entire AFC that Cincinnati is not a storyline. Cincinnati is a problem. The only question left is whether this front office and this coaching staff are ready to match the moment. The roster says yes. The history says be careful. And Dre says, watch this space very closely, because 2026 might be the year the Cincinnati Bengals make everybody remember why they feared this team in the first place. That is your full breakdown, and I need to hear from you right now in the comments. Are the Bengals finally going to get off to a fast start in 2026? Or are we about to watch the same September nightmare on repeat? And most importantly, how are you going to feel watching Trey Hendrickson walk into Paycor Stadium in a Ravens jersey? Drop it below. I read every single one. If this video gave you something to think about, smash that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it means everything to this channel. Subscribe to Dre Talk Sports if you are not already part of the family, because we are here every single week with the takes nobody else is willing to give you. No filter, no corporate agenda. Just real sports conversation. I'm Dre. Stay locked in. See you next time.